Election day is finally here. Polls here at home open up at 7 a.m., but people in other states already lining up to cast their ballots. This is a live look out of Dallas, Texas. And this morning we have team coverage of everything you need to know before you make your voice heard.
Panic buying and preparing for unrest. This election has some nervous for the future. The steps locals are taking to keep their businesses safe.
An update on the Trump campaign's lawsuit against Clark County. The information the county now has to make public as they continue counting mail-in ballots.
Plus, this year's ballot is the longest in Nevada history. We have all you need to know before you cast your vote today. Good morning, Las Vegas. Thanks for joining us live on TV, Apple TV, wherever you're streaming us. I'm Dave Crevassier.
It's such an exciting day. It feels like, ooh, I have like the jitters. I know. We've been talking about this for months. All right. I'm Kalina Estrinos. Justin Bruce here to let you know what your forecast might be like when you head out to the polls this morning. Maybe not that chilly, maybe not sweater weather.
60s this morning, so, I think if you're going to be waiting outside, just know that it does feel cool, but it'll only take a couple hours to warm up. Yesterday we had a couple of raindrops here and there. Most of that moisture is now off to our east, so we do have a dry forecast on this Tuesday. We start off at 62 at McCarran, 59 in West Henderson, 57 in Boulder City, so kind of a cool start, but noon, it's 80 degrees, 82 at 4 p.m., and the polls will close at 7 p.m. It'll be 74 degrees outside. That's a couple hours after dark. We have a big warm-up coming the rest of the week, so we'll talk about the numbers next. Marissa?
Justin, thank you. Taking a look at your traffic conditions around the valley. Take a look up in North Las Vegas. Crews were able to open up that freeway just in the last couple minutes, but they will have that same exact closure overnight tonight. So let me tell you what's going on. If you're traveling on the 15 South up at the Northern Beltway, you will be detoured onto the 215 as to U-turn at Lamb, and then you can hop back onto the 15 South from there. Again, that closure will be going on for the next couple nights.
Marissa, thanks. 5:01 now. Election day, it's finally here. Today, state officials are expecting a high turnout as people head to the polls this morning.
13 Action News reporter Alicia Patillo live with some important reminders for everyone planning to cast their ballot in person. Alicia?
Good morning, Dave and Kalina. That's right. The day is finally here. Well, there will be 125 voting locations open throughout Clark County. I'm here at just one at Desert Breeze Community Center. It's not quite open yet. The polls are not open yet. We're waiting till 7 o'clock, and so it's pretty quiet. But if you haven't registered to vote yet and you want your voice to be heard, well, you're still in luck. Take a look.
The Silver State is one of few allowing same-day voter registration at in-person polling places. To register, you must bring your Nevada Picture ID with you to the polls, and if your address isn't current, you must provide proof of residency. After you register, you can vote. For those who filled out your ballot at home, you can still drop off your mail-in ballot at any polling place today. And if you choose to mail your ballot, it cannot be postmarked no later than November 3rd. Before you cast your ballot, you should know it is against the law to intimidate other voters during the election process. That includes threatening to inflict physical or mental injury. Breaking this rule is a felony. Poll watchers are in place to make sure you feel safe while casting your vote. Other rules to remember: it is illegal to take pictures inside polling places, and it's also illegal to post a picture of your completed ballot on social media. Wearing your mask and social distancing will be required at every polling place.
Well, today, all locations will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, there are 125 polling locations. As long as you're in line by 7 p.m., you can still vote. So for a full list of those 125 polling places, go to our website at ktnv.com. Alicia Patillo, 13 Action News.
All right, Alicia, thank you. And just over 1 million Nevadans, 1.1 million Nevadans have already cast their ballots. That's about 62% of active voters in our state, and over 776,000 of those votes are from Clark County. Today, all eyes will be on the presidential race, but there are some local races that are mighty and highly contested.
13 Action News reporter Sean Delancey is live at the election department with more on what you should look out for. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Dave and Kalina. This is the longest ballot in Nevada's history, but there are a few races that really should catch your eye. You should be paying attention to. 2 federal seats in the U.S. House of Representatives could easily be flipped, and a new person will fill a seat on the Clark County Commission no matter who wins this election day.
Southern Nevada's House race, District 3, is highly contentious, with incumbent Democrat Susie Lee slinging mud at her opponent Big Dan Rodheimer over accusations of a violent past.
The voters in Congressional District 3 need to understand the well-documented long history of violence and fraud of Dan Rodheimer.
Rodheimer has shot back, accusing Lee of profiting off of her position in D.C. and the coronavirus pandemic.
She sold off all her stock before we even shut down flights to China.
The candidates differ on many issues. Lee, more liberal, is focusing on developing and delivering federal aid packages to keep businesses afloat until the pandemic ends. Rodheimer wants businesses open now and hopes to focus on education, lowering taxes, and bringing manufacturing to the state.
There's a lot of things right now that we need fixed.
My vision is to get us back to where we were and even better.
In House District 4, the person representing nearly half of Nevada's landmass in Congress will be either Republican Jim Marchant.
I want people to have more freedoms.
Or Democratic incumbent Stephen Horsford.
Community is all of what it's about for me.
Horsford plans to continue work pushing aid packages to Nevada's ailing economy while also pressing on billions in infrastructure improvements to the area.
My focus is not just getting back to normal. Because normal wasn't all that great for a lot of families.
Marchant is a former businessman and Nevada assemblyman, positioning himself as a pro-police, anti-tax, anti-regulation candidate focused on opening businesses after the coronavirus lockdown.
Of course, we need to do the social distancing and be safe. But we've got to get our economy open. We need no more of these phases. We need to get open right now.
A smaller race, but no less important, squares Democratic former Secretary of State Ross Miller against Republican Mayor Pro Tem Stavros Anthony for a soon-to-be vacant seat on Clark County Commission's District C.
I'm looking forward to continuing my public service.
Anthony is a former police officer turned politician running on a pro-public safety, pro-economy platform.
Getting rid of graffiti and shopping carts and supporting our police officers, and that's always going to be my number one priority because that's what I've done.
Miller's platform is similar, but argues he's more qualified for the job.
I think we got to do a better job of trying to recruit businesses here.
Miller says he worked on former Governor Brian Sandoval's economic board and knows how to recover and diversify the economy, while his prosecutorial experience gives him the skills to keep people safe.
We got to do everything we can to make sure that we keep people safe, and that means continue to make sure that Metro gets the resources that they need in order to help our economy and keep all of our citizens safe.
Coming up in a half an hour, we will be running through some of the critical questions that are on your ballot that could change the state constitution forever. Dave and Kalina.
Sean, in these congressional races, are the voting populations that close that these races will reflect that?
Yeah, that's what makes these races so interesting, Dave, is the demographics that are made up in these areas. District 3, for example, it makes up the southern part of the state, from southern Nevada, basically Russell Street in Las Vegas, down to the state border. So you've got a more liberal urban population at the top, a more conservative rural area at the bottom, and that is the same thing for District 4. Depending on how those voting populations turn out, it could decide who wins this race.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Yeah, Sean, thank you so much. We'll check in with you again in about a half an hour. Now, both presidential candidates wrapped up their campaigns in key swing states. President Trump held his final campaign rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan. As results roll in tonight, the president will be at the White House, and he plans to have a party with around 400 people there to celebrate. Now, last night, Joe Biden's last stop was in Pennsylvania. Today, his campaign will be in Delaware to watch the results. Well, a judge has partially granted the Nevada GOP's request for ballot information.
The GOP filed a lawsuit to learn how Clark County counts its voter ballots. The judge, however, says it would be difficult for County Registrar Joe Gloria to fulfill the request before canvassing ballots. Gloria says some information doesn't even exist yet. It's an argument also made by the county council.
But I don't think they brought up a prevailing reason that they need these rolling records, because you can't file a contest and you can't file a recount until after the canvass in any event.
The request must be fulfilled by November 20th. Clark County officials released a statement saying, "We are very pleased with the judge's decision."
Now, regardless of who wins the presidency, some local business owners are boarding up, preparing for protests.
Now, Metro says it plans to step up enforcement around the valley. 13 Action News reporter Kelsey McFarland live on Main Street to show us what Metro's doing to keep that area safe. Kelsey.
Dave, Kalina, good morning. This is just one of a handful of businesses we've seen that have boarded up their windows and doors. This one with other spots like pawn shops also bracing for the potential of some protests. Now, we've seen unrest in the downtown area before following George Floyd's death. This time, small business owners and police are bracing for the potential of Election Day chaos. Metro Police will have 600 extra officers on standby today, along with a deployment operations center at its headquarters, which is similar to how they prepare for big events like EDC and New Year's Eve. Detectives will be on standby at the Nevada Secretary of State's office as well. Now, Courtney Olson owns Girl in downtown Las Vegas. She boarded up ahead of today, and she says it's not about fear. It's a safety precaution to prevent more heartache.
I have a sinking suspicion that regardless of which way the election goes, we're going to see some definite backlash.
Metro says patrol officers will also be available to respond to the 125 polling locations around the valley. Now, another trend related to Election Day, experts say they are seeing people buying up lots of ammo and panic buying other household items. Details on what they think could be behind the buying surge coming up in the next half hour. Reporting live, I'm Kelsey McFarland, 13 Action News.
Thanks, Kelsey. 13 Action News is your home for this year's election. We'll be here all day, on air, online, and on your favorite streaming services with complete coverage of all the races. For more coverage, visit KTNV.com and click on Election 2020.
Well, good morning, Las Vegas. Time now, 5:11. The plan to connect California and Nevada by train now put on hold. The new setbacks the highly anticipated project is now facing.
Plus, the Strip Hotel fined more than $12,000 for violating COVID-19 safety rules.
Temperatures headed way above average. 83 today, 10 degrees warmer than normal, 84 tomorrow. Hey, on Thursday, that high of 84 could tie the record. A huge cool down coming in the 7-day planner. I'll time that for you and talk about some wind next.